on today's podcast.
Looking back on it, owning a business, it has been something that I've been building a database on.
The truth is, adding value will never go out of style. Hello, and thanks for joining us for another Five Things podcast. Today I've got a kind of a longtime friend at this point. We've known each other for a while, but Ashley Hester, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And Ashley's, we've known each other for a while. You've been in the corporate world and professional setting and things like that, and you've recently just jumped in and taken the plunge on actually buying a business and starting,
Correct.
Essentially starting/reinventing the business is kind of what I'm guessing. So,
Yes.
A lot of our guests on the podcast are people that have been in business for a long time and this and that. And I love the perspective that you're bringing to the table, that you're kind of new in business, mm-hmm. and you've been around it a lot. You've got, one of your best mutual friend, one of your very good friends has a company and she does very well. Mm-hmm. So you've seen a lot, and I'm kind of encouraged by your perspective as far as you're fresh in this process. I mean,
Right.
You're just getting things rolling. So let's tell us a little bit about Ashley Hester and where you're from and how you got to Raleigh in this point.
Awesome. So I'm actually from Durham. There's not many of us that are from this area anymore.
You survived?
Yes.
You made it out?
I did. I went elsewhere and realized I still like the Durham area.
Sure.
It's changed a lot since growing up here. Went to graduate school in Cincinnati and then bounced around from San Diego to Tampa and then brought my roots back to Durham. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And you're right. I mean, Durham has come a long way.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's a hopping, you got the art scene, you got mm-hmm. that whole vibe of what they've done there has been really amazing.
It is. It's exciting.
Yeah. So definitely. So, we'll jump into going into business for yourself here shortly, but, mm-hmm. Prior to that, being in the professional world in the financial services industry.
Yes.
And tell us what's something you've learned from being in that environment. Let's just say from the perspective of, let's say that someone out there is thinking about going into that field. What is something you could tell them with your years of experience there?
It is probably not for everyone. It is certainly a very rapidly changing environment. There are a lot of really, really intelligent people in it. And so that's one of the things I think that, when you're starting out in your young 20s, right out of college, you don't know necessarily what you're getting yourself into. Mm-hmm. And I've really been lucky to be around some of the most brilliant entrepreneurs in the industry. And so I would certainly say you want to absorb as much as you can. I think that nowadays people want to jump around from job to job, every 2 years, which can certainly help your resume grow. But making sure you're absorbing as much as you can from each employer, for me, investment manager, just to parts that you can take along the way. And those are things that I think I consciously did, but now looking back on it, owning a business, it has been something that I've been building a database on. And so now it's really helped me.
Awesome. And I do want to say, you got a lot going on with the vocal cords here, so you're squeezing in a short podcast here.
Yes, my apologies.
No, not apologies at all. I think it works out fine, but I know you're obviously dealing with that. But
yes.
You're right. I think that when you first, when I look back, one of the things I talk about is when I got out of the military, because I knew I didn't want to do it forever, even though I got a lot from the military. There's a lot I learned that I didn't like, and there was things that I did like, and I think that it's great for self-awareness. Because as you're in a profession or in a career, essentially, even if you're not going to end up there, really study what do I like about this? Do I like dealing with customers? Am I patient? Do I like technical stuff? Do I like administrative stuff? You've always given me the vibe like you're great for the front line. You're great with customers, retention, customers angry. You seem like I got a saying, like an all-purpose cleaner,
mm-hmm.
Like just have Ashley deal with that guy.
Right.
You'll smooth it over and but you've got seems like you got a good heart to be able to deal with people.
Sure.
Although none of us want to deal with a bunch of nonsense, so don't go in there thinking, oh, Ashley's always patient. She is from Durham.
Right.
So there's that other side.
Exactly.
But in any case, thanks for sharing that. As far as like a negative experience you've dealt with professionally, but been able to glean something positive from it. Anything come to mind when I say something like that?
Particularly with this new purchase of a business, it's only been about 2 months, and so things have happened so rapidly that I'm, constantly trying to evaluate what's going on, and then taking the time to reevaluate if something doesn't feel right. I would say that because it was a new industry for me, a new sector, I knew I had the confidence or the glue to put it together, but I was put in front of a couple of consultants that I thought would be helpful, but along the way, little pieces didn't feel right. And I've now learned if you really have that gut feeling that something is off, to pay attention to that gut. Don't be afraid to hit the pause button and reevaluate. Interview other consultants, have other perspectives, draw on your network, because that can really save you down the line.
I'll tell you, you said something I literally have been preaching for about a week. I had a situation, I had the party at the house and this and that, and I just kept getting this gut feeling about something, and I'll tell you that feeling is probably right about 95% of the time. I mean, it's really interesting to me that I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but I think we all have some ESP or different things that we're tapping into that, I think the more we open ourselves up to when we first get that little sensation, like, for me, it was, this person's going to no-show me that's supposed to work for this party.
Right.
And so, Friday I sent a text message, nothing back. So Saturday I actually sent I rephrased it differently. I sent this through Facebook Messenger, and I said, hey, just wanted to touch base. I know you wouldn't do something ghetto like no show me when you're supposed to be here. So anyway, I got a text message like half an hour after I sent that message saying, oh, this situation came up and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it did nothing come up. You're just unaccountable.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, for whatever reason, gut was spot on with that. So 100% I agree with you that especially when you're delving into something brand new like a business, and there's so many moving parts, and there's, what you don't know can hurt you.
Absolutely. And I think the ability to discern between what is arrogance of I know best versus let me bounce this off other folks in the industry, or maybe just friends to say, hey, does this seem right or wrong? Don't be afraid to draw on that network. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'll tell you this, kind of just reiterating what you're saying, that the less ego I have, the better off I'm going to be.
True.
And so, I never want to be the smartest guy in the room, which is not real difficult. But, at the end of the day, it's like you want to surround yourself by people that lift you up. That old saying, you become the sum of your 5 closest friends.
True.
And it doesn't surprise me that someone like you is leveling up and you're moving on and this and that, and hanging around our other friend who's, very successful business owner. And I just think we ultimately become who we associate with.
Absolutely.
Which I think is awesome for you, because I have no doubt it's going to be a great success. But go with your intuition. I think that's a great vibe. As far as you're fresh into 2 months into the business here, and part of the topic is your 5 things topic.
Sure.
Is that you're dealing with. So what are some of the things you've dealt with that you think if someone else is thinking about getting into a business, what are some things that you think that they need to know that you've already learned in a short period of time?
Right. So I certainly was jumping into a completely different industry, coming from the family office hedge fund investment world into the beauty world of eyelash extensions. I had been a customer of that service for probably 10 years, especially out in California. They tend to have more aesthetic services than North Carolina. Sure. Coming back to the area, I realized we just don't have the demand, we have the need here, but not the demand to meet. And so I had the opportunity to purchase the studio, and I've just been thrilled. But again, it's been 2 months, so it's been a little bit scary.
Sure.
So, going back to some of the things we were chatting about earlier, I would certainly say that I would draw on your network the most. And by that, I don't mean necessarily the network that's in your current industry or as soon as you have a business idea. It doesn't hurt to always be friendly or extroverted. 10 years, ago are the folks that I'm now reaching out to of like, I'm so glad that I made those friendships and, went to that networking event or talked to that person, because it's really saved me, not necessarily just time, but also, money to draw on those folks, because I've been in the investment services industry so long that when it comes, like you said, our mutual friend, when it comes to, what marketing firm would you use, or, what lawyer would you use? Those things have been quick decisions for me because I'm able to draw on so many people.
Right. And time is money, ultimately.
Yes, absolutely.
And, the one thing that you're probably finding out is that, when you're self-employed and there's never, the inbox is never empty.
Correct.
There's always stuff to do. And that's what, one of the things if you're not finding it out already, it's like you got to schedule you time. And you got to be able to say that I know there's 14 things that I need to do, but I also need to decompress here so I don't, my head doesn't blow off.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to be never ending. And, but time is money. So anything that can save you time's ultimately saving you money.
Agreed.
For sure.
And I think that brings me to another one that I would suggest to folks is definitely the self-care portion of it. I've not stepped away from the investment industry and don't plan to. This is certainly more of a side project baby for me. But working 12-hour days, you started businesses, it's really hard. And so even when you want to take that time to, recharge your batteries, your mind is circling around, I need to do this or that.
Sure.
But you get into a groove where you realize that if you take that time for your self-care, then you're going to be better when you do have to work that 12-hour shift. So making sure that you're keeping yourself level. And then I think a third thing I would say is, that goes into that is staying organized, utilizing every piece of technology you can to, even when you're working on the fly, to be able to have something at your fingertips has really been helpful for me.
Definitely. Organization was always one of my tough things. But for example, little things like writing down your password. I've got a notepad on my phone that has all my passwords. And I got to tell you, it's probably like 70 to 100 passwords and logins. And, it's a little thing, but when you're logging into your American Express or this or that, and you can't remember your password, and it's like, oh man, you got to reset it, and it went to that old email, and before you know it, 15 minutes went by, and it's not a big deal, but it's a little aggravating thing. It's you got these 14 other things on your plate that you need to get to, and you're monkeying around with resetting a login. So that's when I started putting all my passwords in that, and it's super convenient.
Yes.
When the thumbprint doesn't save the password for some reason anymore, or it doesn't automatically log in because you update your computer, it's a big deal.
Absolutely.
So organization's definitely key.
Dropbox has saved my life. Everything stays in Dropbox.
Right. Definitely great rule of thumb there. So what else you got for us? Are we into the 5 things here?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
We are actually.
All right, we'll jump right into it.
For the 4th, I would certainly say I would invest in your employees. I mean, that makes sense. People say that all the time. I have, before I even got off the ground running, like I said, within two months, I hired and fired 2 people, which goes back to the gut. When you find that good person, make sure they're happy. Invest in them. They are going to be the make or break of your business at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I think especially in your scenario, because you acquired a company and you're not there full time all the time.
Right.
And so that's definitely having those key people is they are your brand.
Absolutely.
Certainly an extension of your brand.
Right.
Slow to hire, quick to fire.
Yeah.
If you get the gut, honestly, looking back, it's been one of my mistakes that I've made is hanging on to people too long, trying to figure out how to get them in a better position or how to get them performing where, usually when you get that gut, my experience has been it's too late once you get that gut, and it's unfortunate, but, we don't, one of my favorite sayings, I control 2 things, my attitude and my actions. Learn as much about how I impacted that employee, and maybe I did some things wrong, and I can learn from that, and I can own that to them and things like that. But, at the end of the day, I can't control their attitude. I can't control their work ethic, their actions.
Right.
If they don't take initiative, these are things that you just look for. And, the other thing is that sometimes people get comfortable. When you have someone that is around for too long, I've said this for a long time, when you stop becoming boss and you become Brian,
right.
A lot of people, it's a negative.
Right, they'll take advantage of it.
For the performance of the employee and benefit to the company type perspective, it becomes a real negative because then you're a jerk. No, I'm the boss, and we're accountable to our clients, to to a result. And that's my job, is to hold you accountable to that.
Agreed.
You might feel like I'm a jerk, and maybe I can communicate it better. And that's the part that I work on.
Right.
Because everybody's different as well.
Agreed.
Some people love the direct communication like me. Like, I don't need all the foo-foo. Just tell me the deal, and then we can move on. But you're right. Coming back to your point, I hijacked the conversation there.
No, you're fine. I think that, I love an entrepreneurial spirit, but like you said, working for other folks, it makes you realize what you do and do not like. So when you are ready, if you decide to step out on your own, you can take those things that you've learned throughout the process of what to do, how to handle folks, what you did not like, what you do like,
sure,
communication styles. And so I think that's really important to, again, you don't realize you're learning those things, particularly when you're young, but when you become a little bit older, you realize what works and what doesn't work.
Sure. And that's awesome to be open-minded to it. What's the next up on the list there?
I think we might be at 5.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I was just trying to count. I'm like, wait a second. I think we touched on all 5 of them.
Okay. Yeah. So ultimately, it's, the one thing I'll say to you, and I think we said this when we met for the security stuff, but, one of the 50% of the businesses fail in the first 2 years.
Sure.
And, one of the big reasons is lack of capital. So you got to be careful about the cash. You got to make sure you're paying attention to the details, which, like, for someone like me, I see the forest and not the trees. Mm-hmm. So when I have to dive into trees, it's more mentally exhausting to me. That's like, I love podcasts. There's no trees here. We're just yapping away and talking about things. But if I have to get in front of spreadsheets and P&Ls and this and that, I have to kind of delve into it for a while and not spend all day there, because I'll just become ineffective with it. Right. But we've got to pay attention to the numbers and the trends and things like that. So that's the biggest thing that I would say is a business. And actually, here's the other thing. When things start going good, human nature, this is just human nature. It's easy to get, I'm on cruise control. Things are going good. Speaking with Adam Saad the other day, who owns Rush Hour Karting, he said it beautifully. He said, constantly reinvent yourself, constantly figure out, how can I get in front of more people? How can I touch more people? How can I be a positive to more people? Because at the end of the day, we're going to be successful when we serve more. So finding ways to serve people. Absolutely. And I do know you've got, speaking of serving people, going to be serving some booze and some different things coming up in the near future. Yes. Tell us about that, which, by the way, I got to say, the rooftop you have over there is ridiculous.
It is.
It made me kind of jealous. Like, I want a building like that.
I know. I lucked out. It's an old 1920s building in downtown Durham that's been remodeled, and I love it. It's a beautiful space. But there's a True Flavors Cafes downstairs, and part of our lease, we get to share a rooftop, which is awesome. So I'm still looking into caterers and so forth, but I think that they're going to be able to help us out, and we're going to have a grand reopening party on October 24th.
October 24th.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we're going to have some hors d'oeuvres and some booze, and do a little open house with some door prizes, and just for folks who aren't familiar with the eyelash extension process and how it works and the service itself, so they can come and learn a little about it and then have an opportunity to take home some goodies.
That's awesome. And what's the address?
It is 2022 Chapel Hill Road, which is in Durham.
All right. So it's right there in Durham.
Yeah.
And I guess the website?
Absolutely. It's rockglamlash.com.
Okay.
You can see the address on there and all of our services and pricing.
Awesome. So good networking. There'll definitely be a networking component to it. Coming back to what Ashley talked about is, there's never a bad time to network.
Correct.
It's not just about who you know, it's who knows you. And other than that, definitely check out the website, check out the program. And ladies, check out those eyelashes. Sure. And Ashley will get you right over there.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for coming in and sharing this. And again, I didn't say it before, but thank you for being such a great iWatch security client for all these years, and paying your bills on time, which is always glorious.
I've been very pleased with it. It saved me. Again, I love the technology behind it. So
awesome.
It's been wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. And October 24th, I'm putting that on my calendar.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in, Ashley.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Brian Smith, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more valuable content.